Perfect. And of course, you also have a program for Idea Phase and funding, which is your domain, Jasmine. Yeah, we actually came to the end of our conference, and it was super exciting for me. A lot of takeaways. I didn't know as much on the European sovereignty. I knew that we are talking about it all the time and that we want to pursue it. But I think Hermann managed to explain the really crucial points about it. So what are your takeaways, Jasmine, from today's conference?
Yeah, my takeaway was, for example, what Jason Whitmire said, that we need a longer investment horizon in Europe. What came to my mind is, okay, then we also need more evergreen funds who can fund for a longer time. I also liked what Siraj from Atomico said, that a few years back, 10 years back, it was normal that you told good founders, okay, let's go to the US. And now you can do the same thing in Europe. I think it's important that we can stay here and also develop here our innovations. And another takeaway for me is that every Spin-off Austria conference was different. So the first conference was about showing, okay, we have a problem here in Austria. We are lacking behind. Other countries are doing better on spin-offs, have more output. Last year it was a lot about inspiration. And the second 2 years, I mean, we had the COVID crisis. It's now the first year that I could come without the PCR test to the studio. But of course, I mean, time never stands still. Now we have the energy crisis, and we have really different topics. You know, we are talking about the geopolitical situation. We're talking about Europe. How can we strengthen ourselves? You know, what is US doing? What is China doing? And this is really interesting for me. You know, that everything is evolving, and that we are not talking about the same topics again and again. And I think also in the following years we will find new topics, and we will happily look back and also see what we have achieved and what we also could show to the Austrian audience.
I like it what Andy said at the end. Whatever sort of the challenge, we should compete with innovation. And obviously, in the field of innovation, spin-offs are one of the absolute drivers. Victoria, what were your takeaways from the conference?
Well, I'd say that one common message we got today is that there is already a common commitment towards spin-off on the European level, as we have heard today, but also on the Austrian level. So there's also a lot of support, as we have heard from Herbert Gartner. They want to invest in spin-offs. But also, as Hermann likes to point out, that the biggest risk in Europe is not taking risk. So I'd say, just let's take risk.
And obviously you guys with your programs around IACT minimize those risks, because I can go into the Summer School of Entrepreneurship or any other program and get real support to start. So it would be interesting to know from 27% of our audience who said that they are not sure whether to start a spin-off or not. The ecosystem for spin-offs is getting bigger and bigger, more mature. There's funding, there's awareness, and there are people who know how to work with spin-offs, because it's a different game than, let's say, a typical startup founder who starts something with a software.
Exactly, deep tech. It's mostly hardware. It takes longer time. You have to invest more. Also the IP, the negotiations with the universities and so on and so forth. It's a different game.
It's a different game, and we're there to play it. Perfect. Thank you so much. Final question. Next year, spin-off conference?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
2023.
On that note, thank you for all your questions, for being with us today, and obviously for building this community around the topic of spin-offs, be it as a university, be it as public sector, as founder, investor, in what role ever. It's very important that we join our forces together and build this ecosystem to be competitive on the global scale. Thank you for being with us at this conference today. It was a big pleasure to host you, and we see you next year. Thank you and goodbye.